that is how wide right now we're looking at with the disco scan. And we're behind the laser specifically because of how wide this image is. Basically, if I had this camera in front of the laser, it would be getting hit. Hey everybody, Arnaldo Wolfman here of Gear It First. I'm here with Justin Perry of Pangolin and also Aaron McDonald of Pangolin. And we actually just filmed a video talking a little bit about laser safety. But one of the things that we talked about is, well, how do lasers work? You know, I mean, we all love to see the inside of things, and that's what this video is going to be about. We're featuring the ClubMax series from KVANT. So we're going to talk a little bit about these lasers, but also what's inside them, what makes them tick. And let's geek out to see what it's all about. So here, on behalf of Pangolin and Gear It First, check it out. So guys, we're going to get a chance to really peek inside these lasers. This is the KVANT series. I'm going to let Justin talk a little bit about them. I've done some live streams playing around with these, and these things are just beautiful. You know, inside, outside, and what comes out of them, most importantly. So tell us a little bit exactly, how do laser projectors work?
All right, guys. So first thing I'm going to show you, these projectors are all enclosed inside of an IP54 rated housing. Why do I mention that? Is because a lot of projectors today are just made out of basic aluminum. The housings on a lot of projectors today are not really robust. And what can tend to happen is that over time, a lot of dust, particles, and materials accumulate inside of the laser. This can actually damage your laser projector over time. So all of our projectors feature a very robust IP54 rated housing. If you're not familiar with IP54 ratings, I definitely suggest you go and learn more about them. It's used very widely in professional lighting to give a rating to the housing on a fixture. So our housings are going to be weather resistant. You can use them indoors and outdoors. They are made to get beat up. You're not going to have to worry about bumping the laser or, you know, using the laser outdoors, or if it gets a little bit of moisture on it, it's not going to be an issue because of the grade of housing that we use. So here you can see a close-up of our ClubMax 3000. The ClubMax projectors are available in 1 watt, 2 watts, 3 watts, 3.4 watts, 6 watt, and 7 watt models. We've got a manual shutter up here on the front, and we also include a convenient Allen key down here that's going to allow you to adjust and align the laser from this position right here. Again, you can see it's all enclosed inside of this beautiful IP54 rated housing. If we spin the projector around here, you can see some of the features on the back that we have. We've got ILDA in and ILDA out. We've got our invert X and invert Y, and this is good if you need to mirror multiple projectors. We've got a scan fail safety system, something that's very important for laser safety related parameters. One awesome feature that we have that you won't see on a lot of projectors is individual control over your size, position, and rotation on your X and your Y axis, as well as individual control for your red, your green, and your blue laser sources. Why is that important? It's going to allow you to perfectly dial in your colors if you need to match these with other types of lighting equipment that you have. We've got a remote push button start right here. We've got our key switch right here. We have our power, and then we have our XLR interlock, and you can also connect an e-stop in here as well for e-stop safety control. So we'll open the laser up for you and show you a little bit more of what's inside. All right, guys, so here we're getting a close-up shot of the inside of a ClubMax laser. All of the projectors have a similar construction. So the inside of all ClubMax models, whether it's a 1 watt or a 6 watt, is going to have this general construction. One very important thing I want to point out is that these projectors are entirely manufactured in Europe. There is no sub-assembly done in China like a lot of manufacturers are doing today. These are entirely custom built and produced from the ground up, completely in KVANT's factory in Europe. And that's a big differentiating factor in terms of quality, longevity, as well as the lifetime of your projector overall. We don't take shortcuts when we build these things. To kind of teach you what's inside of the laser projector, we'll walk through piece by piece. So right here we have the physical laser source. This is called a laser module. And inside of the laser module, you're going to have individual laser diodes. So in here we have red, green, and blue laser diodes, and they're combined in a special way to create a very balanced white. So what's just as important when using lasers is not always the brightness or the power of the laser, it's actually the combination and ratio of red, green, and blue that's used inside. You want to make sure you have a system with a very nice balanced white output. A lot of times today people are increasing the power of their laser, but they're just adding more blue. Blue is the cheapest laser source available. So they get the overall power up, but the laser is not as bright as you would expect because it's not balanced. So these have a very good balance between red, green, and blue. So if you were to take like our 3-watt model and put it side by side with even some people's 5 or 6-watt models, it's going to be brighter because of the color balance that we use and the optics that we use inside of the module. Another important thing I want to point out are these devices right here. This is called Lasorb. You can see my fingers pointing at it right now. What Lasorb does is it extends the lifetime of your laser projector by protecting it from ESD and power surges. So if you ever woke up in the morning and grabbed a door handle and got that electric shock, that's ESD. It's one of the most common killers of laser diodes. Another big problem that can hurt a laser projector is a power surge. These happen all the time in our industry. So by putting these two components onto the laser module, they connect to the anode and cathode of the diodes inside. It's protecting that laser source from ESD and power surges and helping to extend the lifetime of your laser projector overall. A very, very important thing that differentiates a ClubMax from any other projector out there today. Over here, we have really the heart and soul of a laser projector. This is called your optical scanning system. You'll notice there is 2 motors on an X and Y axis. You can kind of identify them with these red connectors. We use what's called the Compact 506 optical scanning system. This is made by Pangolin Laser Systems here in the United States. This connects, right here we have position feedback, and that's going to connect to your ILDA input and receive a signal from your software control signal. Now, why is this important? Our scanners are made to work in perfect harmony with our control software like QuickShow and beyond. So you're going to notice, and we'll demonstrate it later, the graphics, the text, the logos coming from a ClubMax are exponentially different from anything else out there. They're high definition looking effects. Not only that, but we can project over a much wider scan angle. And what I mean by that is if you were to project a liquid sky effect out, our ClubMax series can go almost twice as wide as any other projector on the market because we can drive these optical scanners over a much wider angle. So this is really one of the heart and soul, most critical components inside a laser system. Right here, we've got our mechanical shutter. This is a safety feature. Again, this is built by Pangolin Laser Systems in the United States, and you'll notice this little flag. So if the scan fail safety system on the laser ever detects something unsafe happening, this mechanical shutter is going to come in and block any laser output from going into the optical scanners and thus coming out of the projector. So a very important safety feature that we build into the system. Right here, we have our scanner amplifiers, also called drivers, and we have one for our X and our Y axis. Over here, we have our power supply, and over here we have our inputs and some more drive electronics. So this is where your physical ILDA connection is coming in and then feeding the signal to the optical scanning systems inside of your laser. I also want to point out, you're going to notice the general construction inside of this. It's clean. The wires and cabling are all tied down. We have a solid aluminum plate down here that we screw everything into, making it very robust and sturdy. So you can tore these things, you can ding them up, you can bang them up. They're still going to perform as they should. I also want to point out something else that's pretty important is the cost per watt. If you look at the price of our 2-watt projector, we sell this for $1,964. Our 2-watt projector is actually cheaper than any other 2-watt projector that you're going to find in the United States, even being custom manufactured in Europe. And it's because we're manufacturing these things in very large volumes. We're custom producing all the components ourselves. We don't buy these scanners. We don't buy the module from other places. We build it ourselves. So it allows us to offer a higher degree of quality, but at a very affordable price point. So that's why you're going to notice our price on a 2-watt only being $1,964. It's actually less than a lot of other models out there. So this gives you a general overview of the inside of a laser show projector. We're going to connect these things up here in a minute and actually demonstrate some of the effects for you so you can see it in real time as well.
you had mentioned that, price for the power that you get. I mean, that this is just an incredible value, but you're getting more than just a projector, obviously. I'm seeing there's a whole bunch of goodies here that, people don't think about it. When they get the laser, they have to buy a case. They have to buy the e-stop. You got to buy all these things, and they add up, especially a good solid road case. So tell us a little bit of what else it comes with, and is it part of that price that you had mentioned?
Absolutely. So with every projector, you're going to get your ILDA cables included. You're going to get your power cables included. You're going to get your DMX cable included, and your e-stop, your keys, and your interlocks all for free. On every projector from 3 watt and up, we also include a custom protective case with custom cut protective foam at no additional charge. Another great thing I like to point out about these lasers is the output power and how we specify this. So this, for example, we call a 2 watt projector, but if you look at the quality control certificate, and I encourage people to actually power meter our projectors or anybody else's, you're going to see you're actually getting 2.268 watts. So you're getting 268 milliwatts of additional power on what we call a 2 watt projector, and you don't pay for that. We just include the extra power for free. We can look at an example of a 3 watt here. You're getting 3.189 watts, not just 3 watts. So our systems are actually a little bit under spec'd in that sense, as we give you more power than you're actually paying for. We also have some really cool accessories like the Disco Scan 2.0 for wide angle scanning effects. We'll demonstrate this a little bit later. And our accessories are very affordably priced as well. So if you're ever interested in some additional effect options and things like that, those are available also.
All right, guys, so using some of the Pangolin software, Justin's going to show you some of the cool stuff that the ClubMax series can do. Now, keep in mind that you may see what we call shutter roll. If you guys have done lighting before, you're very familiar with this. If not, it's basically where it almost looks like the laser is appearing and disappearing in midair. That's not the laser. Obviously, you can't do that physically. That is what we call shutter roll. But I can tell you right now, looking at it here in our studio, it looks beautiful. Nice, solid, crisp images. You don't get a lot of that flickering that you're going to get with a lot of the cheaper lasers, and it's just beautiful animations and beams coming out of it.
All right, guys, we've got a one of the Pangolin's stock cues displaying here. It's our kind of popular Zeus cue. The ClubMax that we're using right now is the ClubMax 2000. It's rated to 40K at 8 degrees. I point out the degrees used because the international standard, the ILDA spec for rating scan speeds, is at 8 degrees. So anytime you compare scan speeds, you want to make sure you're comparing them at 8 degrees. But I want you to notice how solid and crisp and clean this looks. You're not seeing any flicker or distortion. You're not seeing any strobing effects. It's a nice, crisp, clean, solid projected image. And this is a very complex graphic. If you were to run this graphic on some of the more retail level projectors out there, it's not going to look this good. And this is a result of the compact 506 scanners that we use inside of the projector. We can put a couple other ones up here for you as well to see. Let's maybe pull up some of our, maybe a background image here. We can do like a little star pattern so you can see that. Or perhaps we can do a little sports animation. We've got several of them here in Quick Show.
One of the things that I notice is the whites are beautiful. You don't see a lot of that separation that you would see with some of the other lasers too.
It's a very balanced white, and again, that's because we use an appropriate ratio of red, green, and blue throughout the system. Let's see, we can put up a few other images here. This is a nice 3D animation that we use. And again, you're noticing it's crisp, it's clean, it's solid. It just looks great when you're projecting it in laser.
And one of the things that I would like to ask, see if it's possible to see, is, especially a lot of us that are getting into lasers, we may only have money for one projector. That may be in the budget. So we want something that can go pretty wide, or will be impressive looking. Yep. How does the ClubMax stack up when it comes to getting a nice wide liquid sky type image?
Yeah, well, we can actually demonstrate that. If you, our scanners are rated to plus or minus 60 degrees optical. This is substantially wider than most other laser projectors. So if we will max out the scan angle on this so people can actually see in real time what it looks like at a maximum scan angle. And I encourage people to compare. If you've got a friend with another laser, put a ClubMax in that side by side, max out the scan angles, and see which one's going wider. We're happy to put our gear out there side by side with anything else. We're that confident in it. So we encourage people to run these kinds of tests. Right now, I've got a test pattern set up here, and it's set to go about as wide as a traditional model laser projector could go. We're going to max this out and show you just how wide a ClubMax can go. It's almost double the width. So check this out. So you'll notice, look how wide we can go with this thing. I mean, it's overpassing the black on the side of our display thing. It's that wide. And we can go further up if we want to go wider and higher and bring that down. Now, I don't want to hit this camera here, but you can see this is just a fraction of how wide this thing can project. So if you're a DJ and you need a one-size-fits-all laser that's going to really fill up the entire club, a ClubMax is definitely going to do the trick for you guys. So here's a couple basic beam effects coming out of the ClubMax. You're going to notice how tight those actual beams are. This is because we use a special optical arrangement inside the projector. It's going to get you a lot more high-definition looking beam effects, a lot brighter looking beam effects. So we'll just show you a couple of these here as we kind of toggle through. Another thing you're going to notice on a ClubMax is that the colors look a lot more vibrant. I mean, you can see those blues right there. We've got deep blue, a light blue, some cyan going there. This is because we use a very high quality analog modulation within the projectors. It allows us to really get a lot of bright, vibrant colors coming from the unit. And again, I want to point out, look how sharp the colors are. Look how bright and vibrant they are. We've got a bunch of ambient light coming into the room right now, and we're not even completely blacked out. And you can see just how high definition these effects are. Let's toggle through a few more here, give you just another view. Here we've got a little bit of a rainbow X pattern going.
I want to show them from the sides too. Like it's...
We'll get a couple cones going for you guys. Now, another thing I want to point out is the divergence of the beam. So if we put up a couple of hot beams here, as you can see, if we look at the beam profile, you're noticing you're not going to see any separation of red, green, and blue. Also up here on the final projection area, you're not seeing that separation of red, green, and blue. That's because we use a better optical arrangement. Again, these systems are entirely manufactured in Europe. There's no sub-assembly done in China. It's what allows us to get this much more high-definition laser output than compared to traditional laser systems. Let's take another look at this. And you can see how balanced that white is. I mean, if we'll put up a white circle here just so you guys can see. Look how balanced this is. It is a pure white. It is not a cool white. It is not a hot white. It's just a nice, pure white. On a lot of other projectors, you're going to notice almost a purplish looking white, not on a ClubMax. That's specifically because we use the appropriate balance of red, green, and blue inside of the system.
You know, I got to say, that's incredible how wide that is. This is not a very big studio. This is maybe, I think, a 15 by 20 room, and it just covered that whole area. What if we want to go even wider?
Well, we've got something called a Disco Scan 2.0. You can see it right here. This is a wide-angle lens scanning system. It connects directly to the front of the projector. You can kind of see it from a few different views there. Very easy to mount, very easy to connect. It just screws right in. And this is going to allow you to project 360 degrees by 180 degrees. I'm talking insanely wide laser effects. So wide that one projector can actually fill an entire nightclub with aerial beam effects. So we'll set this up and give you guys a quick demo of how the Disco Scan looks. All right, guys. So what you can see here is we're going almost 180 degrees by 360 degrees optical. Now I want to be careful not to damage Arnaldo's camera here, but you can see just how wide we are going. I mean, it's almost coming directly out of the side of the projector. It's truly, truly a beautiful effect. And using one projector in a Disco Scan, you're going to fill a 20,000 square foot nightclub up no problem. So this is a great tool for DJs who might be on a budget but really want to have a big impact at maybe a local nightclub or a hotel ballroom. The Disco Scan is going to help you put those laser effects all over the room.
And of course, guys, you still have to follow safety procedures and making sure you're not hitting anybody. But especially for those that do mobile events, if you really want to get creative, you could do some awesome laser effects in a typical ceiling, as long as there's, again, you're following safety and there's no mirrors or anything to bounce it off of. But the very first thing I thought of was to create an outer space type look for if you're doing a outer space theme prom, homecoming, or even a corporate event. For a wedding, for example, you can create a true under the stars feel. While again, I own and use effects such as the bliss light, it's green or it's blue. You can do this with white, and you can even add your own animations. I feel like I'm in a planetarium right now.
Well, that's where these were originally developed and used in, Arnaldo. And another thing you'll notice is that it doesn't really degrade the quality of your output. I mean, you've got a small separation of red, green, and blue because it is an optic, but it really maintains the overall beam quality quite well. This is our 2.0 model, so we've improved the output. We've improved the overall divergence by quite a significant factor. So you've got a little bit of separation of your colors, but it's not that bad overall.
And I mean, mounting this on the KVANT ClubMax, I mean, he did it pretty fast.
Yeah, it's relatively simple. I mean, you've just basically got a few Allen screws you got to screw in and screw out, and you're set up and done. KVANT's mount is really pretty convenient in that regard. The Disco Scan includes a universal mount, so you can use it with any projector, but the mounting system from KVANT really makes it a lot simpler to attach.
So if I'm like, for example, beginning to get into lasers, rather than trying to stretch my budget and get 2 or 3 average laser projectors, I could go with a higher end KVANT and a Disco Scan and probably wind up spending less.
All right, so let's talk numbers. You can get a ClubMax 2000. The price out the door is $1,964. You can add a Disco Scan 2.0 and the custom mounting system, and that's $299. So you're still out the door less than what you're paying for even some of today's retail level projectors. Again, we price these ClubMaxes in a way so that they're accessible to consumers, even mobile DJs. We try to keep our prices as low as possible, and we're also able to get our price points down because we actually build the technology. We're not outsourcing this to China. We're not outsourcing this to another manufacturing facility. We build it all custom at our own factories. It's something that really separates us from any other manufacturers out there today, is that we still do all the development, the manufacturing. All of that is done in-house, so it allows us to keep our price points relatively simple. How do I incorporate a Disco Scan lens into my show? One of the easiest things you can do is you can take the projector and mount it pointing down from the center of a nightclub or a hotel ballroom, and you can project down so that those laser effects hit all 4 walls at your nightclub. And you can set your zones within QuickShow or Beyond to ensure that you're still operating in a safe and compliant manner, because you can control those geometric parameters. So it's a great way that a single laser projector can fill an entire venue with beautiful laser light, as you see here.
So guys, one of the things that I used to sell at my events was, especially for weddings, for large-scale productions, that we would be able to do laser stars on the ceiling. And before I used, my Bliss projection, for example, and then with a video projector, we would projector map a shooting star. It would explode and have their name on it. But really with this, I can do it all in one tool. You can actually see right now with one of the stock animations that comes with QuickShow. So now I can create that shooting star. I can create constellations all with one laser, one tool. Much easier to set up, and it just looks beautiful. And again, if you don't have haze, if your venue doesn't allow haze, I think it's another reason to look at the Disco Scan, because now you can paint the entire surface of that ceiling using the laser, and people are going to notice that. For mobile events or for specialty events, I could take the Disco Scan lens and create a literal circus tent for themed events. I could create a star field like I just mentioned. I could create constellations, a giant company logo. I can paint all 4 walls plus the ceiling above me, which is something that's often neglected when it comes to lighting. And with tall ceilings, it's usually real difficult to do that, where people will notice it. But your audience will notice a laser. And a Disco Scan laser is a great way of being able to take one laser effect and painting 5 different canvases with it.
Hey guys, on behalf of everybody here at Pangolin, we'd like to say thanks for joining us on this presentation. Arnaldo, thanks for having us over here. It's been a great time, and we'll see you at the next video, guys.
Guys, for more information, make sure you go show Pangolin some love on their Facebook. And you guys have Instagram as well? Or?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
Awesome. So go show them some love. And make sure you guys subscribe to Gear It First on YouTube and check more out at gearitfirst.com. Have a great evening. We'll see you soon.